we're going to continue a little bit, recap a little bit from what we spoke last time on the Maamar of Tavshim Hey. But what I want to try and point out is that there are Yesodis to the Chiddush of Tavshim Hey within the Maamar of Tavshin Chof Hey. Although Tavshim Hey was a big Chiddush, Tzimtzum and Lifnei Tzimtzum, but it's possible to see, at least al kaponim b'dakos, the Inyonim already in Tavshin Chof Hey, at least b'signan acher. Kamuvin the Tzimtzum and Lifnei Tzimtzum, it doesn't mention, it only mentions in Tavshin Mem Hey, but you can find Shoroshim for the same thing. Where is that? So first let's recap briefly what we spoke about last time. How we magdir the inyan of Tzimtzum and Lifnei Tzimtzum. So the Nakuda came out like this, that the Oir and Sof that comes out from the Moir, mitzad, what does it come out, which part of the Moir, so to speak, does it come from? It comes from the Yecholis Lahoyer, the Yecholis HaMoir, the Yecholis HaAtzmus Lahoyer. And this Yecholis is not only defined as a Yecholis for a particular thing, because the Yecholis of Atzmus is not made up of different parts. The Yecholis is one Yecholis. The Eibishter is a Kol Yochel. As mentioned last time, the Pirush says in the Maamarim on the Piyut of the Chol Ma'aminim, it says HaKol Yochel, the Kol Lom Yachad. The Eibishter is Kol Yochel and is Kol Lom Yachad. What are the two things that is Kol Yachad? The Yecholis Lahoy and the Yecholis Shaloi Lahoy. And the Yachad meaning it's one Yecholis. It's probably Yecholis to Bligvul, other things as well. But we know of the two things that came out from the Yecholis is the Yecholis Lahoy and the Yecholis Lahoy. The Mai Nafkamina. The Nafkamina is when Oir comes out of the Moir, is this Oir only Oir? Or does it, in other words, it's an expression of the Yecholis Lahoy? Or does the Oir have in it something else as well from that Yecholis? And the Chiddush, which the Rebbe says it, Be'emes in Tavshin Yudal and the Vanocha, is that since Oir is coming from the Yecholis or Atzmus Lahoy, which this Yecholis is also Yecholis Shaloi Lahoy, therefore the Oir has within it its kolol also from the Yecholis Shaloi Lahoy. It's Taka Oir, and if you ask Oir, what is your inyan? He'll say, my inyan is to be Megala the Yecholis Lahoy, Bligvul. But kolol inside that is also the Yecholis Shaloi Lahoy, and the Nafkamina is that allows for shinuyim in the Oir. If it would just be Oir, then it would be Kamoshel HaShemesh. What's the Moshel of the Shemesh? So the Oir comes out B'derech Memela, and there's no Madregas in the Oir HaShemesh. It gets weaker because it's a Dava Gashmi and it's Mukbul, but there's no changes. You can't say this is level, this is the Pnimis Oir, this is Chitzonis Oir, then it goes even further, Etzim and Ispashtus, all the different levels we talk about in Oir himself. It's an Oir Echad. Lamaila, we find Madregas in Oir himself. What makes those Madregas? Because within the Oir there is a Tnuah of Shaloi Lahoy. And therefore the Oir has a Tnuah of restricting itself, withholding itself, and then coming to a lesser Madrega, and then again restricting itself and coming to a next Madrega, and so it goes from level to level in Lifnei HaTzimtzum. These are the Tzimtzumim in the Oir and Sof Shel Lifnei HaTzimtzum. It's the Yecholis Shaloi Lahoy that's in the Oir. That's what we learned last time. Where do we see the same musig in the Maamar of Tavshin Chof Hey? Similar musig upon. In the Maamar of Tavshin Chof Hey, the Rebbe, it's more or less at the beginning, brings down the Teres HaMagid, that the Eibishter also kamet tzimtzumim, bekamo olamis, derech kamo olamis, and in order to have achdus im ha'adam, who is not able to be sovel the behirus. Which behirus are we talking about? The Pashtus, talking about Oir and Sof. So the Eibishter made first and foremost, he made the tzimtzum arishon to allow for the adam to be makabel from the behirus, from the Oir and Sof. And then the Rebbe mentions the famous Nakuda that Tzimtzum is only in Oir, not in Moir. So the Tzimtzum was in this Behiris in Oir and Sof. When the Rebbe talks about that the Tzimtzum was only in Oir, not in Moir, the Rebbe says, in other words, it doesn't say it mamish clearly, but if you read with it, the Teichen, what the Rebbe is saying is, on Atzmus, can you say the Lashon that he's Mamala Mokim Acholo? Does it make sense to say such a thing? Even though it's true, that's a saponimine, but can you say on Atzmus he's Mamala Mokim Acholo? It wouldn't make sense to say that, because what's Atzmus got to do with Mokim Acholo? It's like saying the Svara that you just said in Teves is Mamala the whole Cheder over here. Doesn't make sense to say such a thing. It's not shaykhs to the Inyan of Mokim. So what does it mean when it says in Eitz Chaim, B'tchila hoya Oren Sof Mamala Kol HaMetzias? Oren Sof is also Me'en HaMoyer. How can you say on Oren Sof that he's Mamala Kol HaMetzias? That's the Lashon of Eitz Chaim. And the teretz is that itself, that you say the Lashon Mamala Kol HaMetzias, means there is a level in Oren Sof which is shaykhs to Metzias. It's just still too big and it has to be Nisamtzim. But the fact that you can say it's Mamala Kol HaMetzias shows that that Oren Sof is shaykhs to Metzias. So that means to say that, so what is this level of Oren Sof which is shaykhs to Metzias? Says the Rebbe Mikan, we understand that there's a level in Oren Sof which is nice and locked to Metzias, which we call the Oir HaGvul. The Oir HaGvul. The Oir HaGvul, in other words, was there also Lifnei HaTzimtzum. And therefore, this level of oil, we can say it's Mamala Kol HaMetzias. There is a level of oil which is shaykhs to Metzias. Again, we see already levels in Oil and Sof, which obviously comes to Tzimtzum Lifnei HaTzimtzum, but we see levels in Oil and Sof. So now that we have what's Taka the Hezbollah that you have an Oil HaGvul Lifnei HaTzimtzum, which, by the way, those who learned the beginning of Ayin Beis will recognize that the Rebbe Rashab makes a point of this in the whole Hemshech of Ayin Beis to emphasize this shitta that there is an Oir HaGvul even before the Tzimtzum. You recognize that? Or, the guys who are learning Ayin Beis in the beginning will recognize that one of the main chidushim of Ayin Beis is to be masbir this shitta, that there's a Lifnei HaTzimtzum, there's also an Oir HaGvul. Where is the Yesoid? Is in this Maamar the Rebbe seems to be saying that the Yesoid is from the Avodas HaKodesh. Why does the Frierdiker Rebbe bring in the Maamar the Avodas HaKodesh? He's talking about Eitz Chaim, and then all of a sudden he brings in the Avodas HaKodesh. What is it in Avodas HaKodesh? The famous Avodas HaKodesh. Kshem sheyesh lekeich b'bilti b'algvul, kach yesh lekeich b'gvul. The Eibishter has the keich ha'bligvul and also the keich ha'gvul. When we say Kshem sheyesh loy, who are we talking about? Who's the loy? To whom? Atzmos. Says the Rebbe in this Maamar, a chidush, that the Kishem Sheyesh Lo is not just going on Atzmos, it's also going on the Oir. Since Oir is Me'en HaMoir, so he's Me'en also in this Maila that he has Gvul and Bligvul and Gvul. Just like on the Moir we say that he has Keich HaGvul, just like he has Keich HaBligvul, because if not there's a Chisaron in Shleimus, so too, Benegeh to Oir and Sof, there has to be also that he has both Mailas, Sai the Inyan, which he is Mitzad Atzmai, an Inyan of Bligvul, and he must also have the Inyan of Gul because he's Me'en HaMoir. This is a Chiddush, because normally when we say Oir is Me'en HaMoir, what do we mean to say is Me'en HaMoir? That he has the Keich of Etzem, and his Bligvul, and his Ein Sof, all the Mailas of Oir Ein Sof. We don't talk about any Gvul. Gvul is not a Maila when it comes to Oir Ein Sof L'choira. Says the Rebbe, in this moment it's not like that. The Keshem sheyesh lekeich b'bilti b'gvul, kach yesh lekeich b'gvul, which we usually refer to the Mo'er as having these two milas, to Atzmos, we should know that Oir also has these two milas. And Yeshloima, this is Marumas in the Lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe. In the Lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe, when it brings the Avodas HaKodesh, he finishes off and he says, Upirushay de Shleimus ha'ein sof keil bli gvul ugvul. He adds that on, which is a few extra words, which is not necessary. We understand that already from Avodas HaKodesh itself. What he's saying is that if Oir and Sof is Ein Sof, and it's Me'en HaMoir, he has two things. He must have Bligvul and also the Inyan of Gvul. So far so good? Should I repeat that or no? Huh? So, to recap. The Chidush of the Avodas HaKodesh in this Maamar is that B'derech Klal we talk about the Kshem Sheyesh Lekeich B'bilti B'algvul, Kach Yesh Lekeich B'gvul. Is talking about that Atzmos has the Keiches in both things. The Chiddush over here is that Oir also has these two Mailas. Why? Because Oir is Me'en HaMoir. In other words, it's Me'en all the way. This is similar to What it says in other places, the oir is me'en hamoir, in the fact that it can also be mahavi yeshmi'ayin. It has more than meets the eye. It's not just oir and sof. It includes also other things. Which is,
It's what we spoke in Tafshil.
I don't hear.
We spoke in Tafshil Kovetz already about it. Was the guy Kovetz, no?
In oil there is?
This is the good of it. Eir is being a Maamar in everything. But you just mentioned.
Also the Kayla Indian could be. I don't remember now.
No, there it's about the inception, was it? The Mehave.
Mahava,
But
yes.
the symbol
It's because it's totally me'en, yeah. But this is a different emphasis, the Indian of Gvul, but it's the same idea. If it's me'en all the way.
So say both the Matalim, Tachlis, and Malalim.
Yeah, all within the oil. Yeah. So it comes out that from the Avodas HaKodesh, this is the Yesod to the Shita, it seems, of the Eitz Chaim, that there's an Oir HaGvul even before the Tzimtzum. Where do we see the Eitz Chaim holds that there's an Oir HaGvul even before the Tzimtzum? What's the Hechacha? The Hechacha is from one of the questions Eitz Chaim brings. The Rebbe doesn't mention it in the Maamar, but it's understood, Mitech Dvorov, that this is what the Rebbe is referring to. There's a famous question which Eitz Chaim brings down, it's brought down all over the place, that why was the Tzimtzum b'derech siluk? Why didn't you just take away the bligvul and leave over a little bit of oil? So after all, that's what you want. You want the oil hakav. So why do you have to be masalik everything? Leave over a little bit of oil. That's what you want. So the Eitz Chaim has a reason why, because otherwise it wouldn't be Yishavas HaKelim. Not getting into the teres, but we're looking at the question itself. What does the Eitz Chaim say? Why did you be masalik everything? Leave over a shtickle. After all, that's what you want. Why take everything away and then start again with the kav? Leave over something. Says the Rebbe Rashab there in Ayin Beis, what type of question is that? Be masalik, chelik, and leave over. If it's oir echad shava, the way the mashmois of the Eitz Chaim is, hoya oir echad shava poshut, something like that. Echad poshut shava memala kol hametzias. So if it's an oir echad, what do you mean? Be masalik, a chelik of it and leave over. Take away 90% and leave over 10%. Have you ever heard of take away 90% of your sfara amuka and leave over 10% of it? You can't do that. It's an oir echad shava. You can't split it into pieces. So what's the question of the Eitz Chaim? Elamai, mikan muchach that the Eitz Chaim holds that there's two oiras. There's the 90% is oir and sof hablikvul, 10% is oir hagvul, and if you were to take away the blikvul, you'll be left over with another oil, which is oir hagvul. You could separate them because there is taka and oir hagvul even before the tzimtzum. This is from the Eitz Chaim. This is what Ayin Beis, the Rebbe Rashab Ayin Beis brings Shlach Ayin Beis. He proves that this is the shitta of the Eitz Chaim. Now you must say that there's an oir hagvul, otherwise the question wouldn't make sense. So where's the yesod for this inyan? The yesod we have in our Maamar. Why must we say that there's an oir hagvul even lifnat tzimtzum? Because the mila of Ein Sof is that he's koil bligvul and gvul. It's not just the mila ha'atzmos, it's also the mila of Ein Sof. Ein Sof must also have in it the inyan of Oir HaGvul. And that's why it's shaykhs to say the lashon that it's memala kol hametzias, and that's why shaykhs to ask the question, why not be masalik the bligvul and leave over the Oir HaGvul? And what's taka the reason? No, that's one of the, again, this is one of the chidushim over here, that the Avodas HaKodesh is also in oil, not just in moil. So here we see a similarity to the inyan that we just spoke about from Tavshim Hey, that there's also an inyan of Hagbola, there's the inyan of Tzimtzum, there's an inyan of Gvul, even Lifnei HaTzimtzum. Which has to be a bit of an achach, but it's along the same lines. Even Lifnei HaTzimtzum you have a shaykhs to the inyan of Gvul. So Hoguf, so why taka did there have to be a siluk, the Ein Sof b'derech siluk lagamri? If there is taka and Oir HaGvul, so let's ask the question of Eitz Chaim again. Why not be masalik the 90% bligvul and leave over the Oir HaGvul? So the Eitz Chaim has his own biur, why? And the Chassidus explains the biur of the Eitz Chaim. But from this Maamar it comes out that the Rebbe is explaining a slightly different explanation. If you've learned the Maamar of Yeshivat Legani with the Ha'oris, you'll find there that the Rebbe brings down there's a few different reasons as to why this simcha had to be with Derech Siluk.
Which one?
The Yeshivat Legani Tavshin Yud Gimel, it's in Malukad Beis. There, where he brings down this Ayin Beis, he asks the question as well. He brings down the question as well. Why not be Masalik, the Bligvul, and leave over the Oirag Vul? And the Rebbe brings down a few different reasons why the Tzimtzum had to be b'derech siluk legamri. One of the lashonos in the Maamorim is that if the kav would be left over and not be masuluk legamri, then the Oirag Kav, the Lashon is, it would have been bebechinis hisgalas or atzmus. If it wouldn't have been a siluk legamri, if there would have been the siluk just of the bligvul and left over the Oirag Vul, then the Oirag Vul would be bebechinis hisgalas or atzmus. What does that mean? What does that mean? That if it would have been left over, it would have been bebechinis hisgalas or atzmus. It seems that this is what the Rebbe is trying to explain in this Maamar as well. If the oil would have been left over, it would have been Esgalas Atzmus. What does that mean, it would have been Esgalas Atzmus? Pashtus, it means to say that it wouldn't be Nirgash that it's an oil hagvul. It would have been Nirgash that it's a sniff and a hemshech to the bligvul. And that's too much for Olamas to receive. Olamas have to receive an oil hagvul which is, so to speak, made to measure, an oil hagvul. If it would have been left over from the without being nistala completely, then it would have been nirgash that it's a hemshech from before. It's only when you go away completely and come back again. In other words, the kav goes through this what you call the diluk of hefsik, of siluk, and then being nimshach again. Only then does it come out as an oil hagvul, which is shaykhas to be mislavish in olamas. So this is what the Rebbe said. If you listen to the tape, you hear the Rebbe saying, Emes taka, there's an Oirag Vul, if not Tzimtzum, but it's not Nirgash. What's Nirgash? It's Nirgash Bligvul. You're not Margash the Inyan of, it's not Nirgash the Inyan of Oirag Vul. Why not? Because when it's Kolol in the Oirag Safar Bligvul, it's not Nirgash as an Inyan Bifnei Atzmai. It's only when it's separated from it through Siluk, then it comes back in an Oifen of Diluk, then it's Nirgash as an Inyan Bifnei Atzmai. But the way it stands, Kolol, in the Oirag Sof, it's nirgash, it's a chelik of bligvul. So if it would come down in that form, it would be weiter nirgash, it's a chelik of bligvul. It wouldn't be nirgash as a oirag vul. So just to be marchev a little bit, this nekuda, we'll go change the subject a little bit. There's hashgacha pratis of Shchedi Shvat. So we'll speak a little bit about Shchedi Shvat. We'll see how it ties in. Okay, I know it's a inyan ba'is in. You'll see in a second how it ties in. What happened with Shchedi Shvat? B'shivim Loshen, right? Be'ez HaTeirah b'shivim Loshen. For what reason did Moshe have to hold up, whoever asked this question in Sikha, 600,000 Anoshim Levad Mitov, 600,000 people with their families, to hold them up, for what reason? To translate into Japanese. I mean, who over there was speaking Japanese that you had to explain to Japanese? Who spoke English over there? Latin or whatever. In Japanese, who are you doing this for? It's a big question. So some of Farshim say, okay, so because just in case in Deiris Shmeta, there's going to be people in Japan, there's going to be people in England, and over here and over there, so you have to translate to all these languages. Okay? Obvious question. I mean, can't you rely on this Sanhedrin or the Chachma Yisrael in 1,000 years from now? You have to now translate it? It wasn't even recorded, right? So what's the point of translating it? So the Rebbe says a Yisoid. It's a very big Yisoid in Limud HaTorah. We'll get to the shaykhs of this moment in a second. What's the Yisoid the Rebbe says? What language is the Eibush to speak? Lashon HaKodesh. The Ramban says that's Eibush's language. Lashon HaKodesh. So if Lashon HaKodesh is Lashon HaKodesh and Torah was said in Lashon HaKodesh, so if somebody now says a pasuk in English, other words he's saying Divrei Kedusha, instead of saying Bereshis bara Elokim, he says in the beginning Hashem created heavens and earth. Is he saying Divrei Torah? I mean, does he have to make a bracha b'chas HaTorah if he's saying psukim in English? We now know that halacha is yes. Doesn't matter what language you're saying, but who made that like that? If you're saying in English, English is not the Lashon HaKodesh, and it's not the Lashon of Kedusha, it's not Divrei Torah, maybe it's not Kedusha. It's talking about something in Torah, but that itself, these oisias that you're saying, in whichever language you're saying, who says that's got a din of Divrei Torah? It's to be like somebody practicing with a plastic pair of tefillin. Can't make a broch on that. It looks like tefillin, it acts like it's not, but it's not tefillin itself. You have to have actual real tefillin. So who says you can make Birchas Torah on speaking psukim in English? The teretz is Hoil Moshe Beres HaTorah. The Moshe Rabbeinu, everything has to go through Moshe. He was mamshech the Torah into all the languages. So Mikan ve'elech, all languages have the kedusha of Torah. So if somebody now was to say a pasuk in English, yes, you have to make Birchas Torah because it's got the kedusha of Torah, right? And the same thing the Rebbe says when they get to Oisius of Torah. What happens if somebody writes Oisius in English of Torah? Who says those Oisius, those shapes, have a kedusha to it? That's why Moshe Rabbeinu told them also to write on the stones. When they go over the yard, they should write, because this way you mamshech the kedusha of Torah into other languages, and now all languages have kedusha Torah. So Moed Kabir is to why Moshe Rabbeinu had to translate into different languages. But the Rebbe goes on further. Which part of Torah did Moshe translate? According to Pshuta Shemikra, the whole Chamisha Chumshe Torah, Sefer Dvarim. So Bashgacha Pratis, why Dafka Sefer Dvarim? So the Rebbe explains, because Sefer Dvarim is on a lower level. It's part of Chamisha Chumshe Torah, but it's a lower level. What do Chazal say? Moshe Mipi Atzmei Omra. Kemuvan, it doesn't mean Mipi Atzmei Kipshutei, because Chas v'Shalom, if somebody says that Moshe said something Mipi Atzmei, he's a Keifer B'chol HaTorah. So obviously it's not being Pi Atzmei Kipshutei, but Pi Atzmei means that this is a level of Torah the way it was mislabish more into Daitishul Moshe, so it came down a level. It's Ruach HaKodesh, but it's a lesser level. Therefore, it's got a lesser degree of the. It's a lower level than the previous four Sfarim, and that's why it's called. This was the Chelik they translated. So why is that negay over here? So the Rebbe says like this, because everything has to start off within Torah. As the Gemara says, Lechem midid iksivi biksuvi d'lo remiza be'raisa. If it's out there, it must be in let's say in Tanakh. If it's there, you must have a remez in Torah Shebiksav. So let's take Divrei HaNevi'im. If a Navi, Shmuel HaNavi, says Divrei Nevuah, who makes that Divrei Torah? He said a Nevuah to Shaul HaMelech. What makes that a Nevuah? That Nevuah, that if we say over the words that he said, it's called learning Torah. It has to start off within Torah. Where does it start off within Torah? In Mishnah Torah. This was Nevuas Moshe, which is incorporated within Torah Shebiksav. So it became part of Chamisha Chumshe Torah. By doing that, that upgraded all Nevi'im. That Mekan Ve'elech, if a Navi says something and it's recorded in Torah Shebiksav, it has a din of Torah Shebiksav. Where's the Remiza Be'eraisa? Where does this start out from? From Mishnah Torah. You have in Mishnah Torah a bechina of Nevuah Sheba Torah. And the same thing is when again what the Zohar says that Mishnah Torah is called Torah Shebal Peh. It's Torah Shebal Peh. It's Torah Shebiksav. This is the Torah Shebal Peh, Sheba Torah Shebiksav. Because when something is within its mocker, it has the din of the mocker. So Torah Shebal Peh, the way it's in Mishnah Torah, is dinai, is Torah Shebiksav. It's part of Chamisha Chumshe Torah. It's the Torah Shebal Peh, Sheba Torah Shebiksav. So what we come at is the Yisoid, that when something is kol in its mocker, what din does it have, so to speak? Has the din of the mocker. I think we spoke about this in Ein Beis as well. I don't remember if it's the same guys or not. But we have the same thing, that you have something kol in its mocker, it's no longer an independent being, it's a prat in the mocker. When the olol is kol in the ilah, it's got a din of the ilah. When the uba is b'mei imoy, is uba yerach imoy, is a din of the imoy. It's not a separate being. And al derech ze kamenyanim, we have in halachas, dugmois in halacha, where you have there's something is within a mashal. Those who are learning Yerideh, right? So there's a din of a telas, or these creepy crawlies are in vegetables. Yeah. When it becomes osir, only when it's gone out into, it was perished from the yerek, and then climbs back into the lettuce leaf, then you have a problem. But if it was nigdal, if it grew within the lettuce leaf and never went out into the ave ha'olam, it's part of the lettuce. You can eat it. We don't know which one went in and which one out, so we have to be machmir and everything. But if we would know that this, whatever it is, this creepy crawly, was grown within the lettuce and never went out into ave ha'olam, you'd be able to eat it. Why? Because it's not a din of a sheret; it's a din of a lettuce. It's not the din of the olol; it's the din of the ilah. It's part of the Ilah. Ma'anaf kimina hetzu. This is in Yonenu. When the kav is kol, when the Oir HaGvul is kol in the Bligvul, what din does it have? The din of Bligvul. So you can't just, if you don't make a siluk and start again, then it's not nisparish, it's not separated from the Bligvul, then it's got a din of Bligvul still. The only way you're going to make it an Oir HaGvul b'poil is if you make a siluk completely, and then the kav comes down through the hefsik of the tzimtzum, then it's going to be an Oir HaGvul, l'shem Oir HaGvul. Understand the connection between the two? It's a very Yisraelistic thing. When something is kolel in the mocker, it's got din of the mocker. If you want to make it a separate, you're going to have to separate between the two. And the way to separate between the two over here requires a siluk legamri. Then when the kav comes through after the siluk, it's called a hamshacha alidei hefsik. What's the moshel that Chassidus brings for hamshacha alidei hefsik? Kamoshel asyrus, yeah. For those who still have. That's a sinus is taka. You can cut it; doesn't make a difference. Why? Because it goes through the hefsek al gulgolos. There's nothing. There's no connection. But there is a connection. If you pull it, it hurts. Yeah, avada. It comes from the moyach, but it's gone through such a big hefsek that it's separate. It's like something else. Al derech ze b'ganenu, the kav after the dilug of the tzimtzum is a oisha b'bechinas gvul. If you wouldn't have that dilug of tzimtzum, if you just separate the bligvul and leave it there, then it's still a hemshech of before. It didn't go through a hefsek. If it didn't go through a hefsek, it would be b'bechinas his galas atzmos, and it wouldn't be an oir hagvul. So that's one of the inyonim, which it seems was nisbaya in this Maamar. So. Canal, this is not a separate beer, it's a different Maamar, but it is going along the same idea that even Lifnei HaTzimtzum you have inyonim of Gvul, inyonim of Shaloi Lahoyer, and therefore you have an Oir HaGvul even Lifnei HaTzimtzum. And that's the same idea that even Lifnei HaTzimtzum there are also Tzimtzumim. What are the Tzimtzumim? A Tnu of Shaloi Lahoyer in the Oir. Going back to the Maamar of Tafshin Chof Hei B'Negei L'Maisa, what is the punchline, so to speak? Let's get down to the end of the Maamar. There's a lot in between, but let's get to the end of the Maamar. What is the punchline at the end of the Maamar? Where's the Rebbe going with this? There's one word which the Rebbe says right at the beginning of the Maamar. It seems to me that a lot of times the Rebbe gives out the nakuda right at the beginning, where he's going. He says, in order to understand the inyan of Einos of Lamaila Maila, Ba'archovu u'ba'amkus, so another interesting Lashon, Ba'archovu u'ba'amkus, I think that was the Lashon, or Ba'amkus Ba'archovu. That was the Lashon, yeah? Ba'archovu u'ba'amkus that's why the Frierdiker Rebbe starts off with Lamata Mata and then goes into the inyan of Lamaila Maila. So, what's the Rebbe out to explain to us? Ba'archovu u'ba'amkus, the Maila of the inyan of Lamaila Adin Kates over the inyan of Lamata Adin Tachlis. Not just to explain what Lamaila Maila is, what Lamata Mata is. If he was just explaining what Lamaila is and Lamata is, then the Frierdiker Rebbe should have gone according to the order of the Maamar Azal. What came first? Lamaila Adin Kates, Lamata Adin Tachlis. First explain Lamaila, then explain Lamata. You see the Frierdiker Rebbe swaps the order. First he explains Lamata Adin Tachlis, and then explains Lamaila Adin Kates. Why does he position it this way round? Because he's going min akala lakovid. From the Maila of Ein Sof Lamata Adin Tachlis, once you understand that haflaw of Ein Sof, then you'll understand the haflaw of Ein Sof Lamaila Maila Adin Kates. So where does the Rebbe get to the Maila, the haflaw, Ba'archovu Ba'amkus? What is the Maila for Ein Sof Lamaila Adin Kates? So that comes right at the end of the Maamar, where the Rebbe brings down the Rebbe Rashab, where he says what the Maila of Koyach HaGvul, Koyach Shloi Lahoy is. And here it's here's the Nakuda. We said before that the Yecholis Lahoy and Yecholis Lahoy is all the same Yecholis. One Yecholis. HaKoyach Yachal U'Kolam Yachad. Is there a Maila over Yecholis Lahoy or Shloi Lahoy? Is there a Maila of either of them? No Maila. Yet, when the Ein Sof comes all the way down here, there we'll be able to see we should be able to see the Maila of the Koyach HaGvul of the Loi Lahoy. What is the Maila of the Loi Lahoy? In the oil, yeah, but in that tnuah of oil of Loi Lahoy. In Yecholis are the same.
Even after.
Yeah, in Yecholis nothing changes. Yecholis is an atzmos. But the way it expresses it out all the way down, there somehow we're going to be able to see the mile of the Chodesh Loraya. Where do you see the mile? So the Vart is the Rebbe explains based on Adam Ki Yaakov in Samach Vov, where the Rebbe Rashab says that what makes an oil in an oifen of oil hagvul? The Lashon the Rebbe Rashab is me'ayin shenimshach. See if I can find the Lashon. Ilchol oil v'gilui efshe sheyisamtzim v'yagbeles atzmei b'hamshachasoi ki me'ayin shenimshach ha'oil v'agilui mishom nimshach ha'keach letzamtzim u'lahagbel. The oil is not magbel itself, it's from the mo'or. The mo'or is, put it in simple words, the mo'or is controlling the oil. This is the same yisoid as we used for the inyan of the tzimtzum lifnei tzimtzum. Oil is not just free for all. Oil came out of mo'or, it goes, that's it, now it's on its own. It doesn't go like that. In oil Hashem is just like that. Once the oil comes out from the mo'or Bechlal doesn't have, the Shemesh Bechlal doesn't have any Bechira or any Koyach to do anything. But once it's out, it's going to be all the same oil. There's no dargas, there's no control over the oil. It's just, that's how a moya works. Lamaila doesn't work like that. There's no stam b'derech memela. The oil is being controlled. Who's controlling the oil? Which koyach? The koyach hagvul, the yechodes shaloi lahoy, is controlling the oil. For example, if we use the example which was brought in last year's Bosi, I think, or maybe 2 years before, the mashal the Rebbe Rashab brings there in the Maamar. If you give a pen to a child, he's going to start making scribbles. If you give it to a grown-up, he's going to write within the line, or color within the line. He knows how to control his hand. What was nisgaba by the grown-up that the child didn't have? The child had the koyach hagilui, but he didn't have the koyach hagvul. He couldn't restrict it. The same hand that gives out the tnu of moving, me'ayin shenimshach ha'ovagilu misham nimshach the koyach to be magbul. In other words, from the same source of the koyach hagilui, it's under control from the source. So it comes out that whichever level you're coming in Oyer and Sof, where do you see a mila? In the inyan hagilui or in the inyan hagvul? The Muskarish, the mila is in the inyan of gilui. That Oyer and Sof comes all the way down and gives chayas to everything, even to the lowest of Nivraim, even to Paroi, who's Kaifa B'Ika, he's giving chayas. That's Lamatamata in Kates. But you see that it's controlled. Why? How's it controlled? At the same time that he's giving a gilui to Paroi, Paroi is not aware of it. Lo yodaiti, I don't know who he is. How can you give and not recognize where it's coming from? It's one of the things that it brought down later on the Maamar. We're mekabel chayas. We know something's mechayas, but we don't recognize it's a chayas alaki. How do you manage to do that? To give and to restrict. Let's give a mashal. What would that be? What would that look like in Gashmias? To give and not recognize who's giving. L'cha'ora, no, not just covering your face. You can see somebody's giving. It would look like this. L'cha'ora, you'd say, matan basesa. If you come into your dining room table, you see a bag of gold coins. You say, well, how did this get here? Somebody must have put it here. Yeah, but the guy ran away. You wanted to give a matan basesa. So you put the bag of gold coins on your table, ran away. Fine? That's called a. Is that the same thing as we're talking about?
Still not comes from someone.
You know somebody did. Imagine that somebody is now, right now, coming with his hand, putting it on the table, gold coins, and by you it's not a pella. Ad kedei kach, that you think that this is normal. The bags of gold coins arrive on your table, and it doesn't come from anywhere. It just came. And this is normal. Emerson, we're doing this the whole time. Where does this table come from? Nobody's asking that question. By us, it's a double push. What do you mean? The table that came from the factory, somebody brought it down, and it says, here's the table. But the Eibush is being mechayim mahava this table called rega v'rega teisam Hashem tov. We should be nispol. How's this here? The Eibush is being mechayim. Nobody's nispol. It's normal. These are tables. These are chairs. This is how it works. This is the koyach ha'hester of l'mayla mayla that you can give l'mata mata and at the same time be l'mayla mayla. This is a pella. It's a controlled gilui. He's able to give the gilui in a way that he's mastered. So here is the mayla of the koyach hagvul. He's able to be master and give it in a controlled way, even by b'shor that he's l'chayra doing gilui, at the same time he's doing the opposite.
So why is it called ilui?
What's that?
Why is it called ilui?
Because it's a haflah that he's able to do that. It's an ilu. It's going
Not
upwards.
iskal.
It's you're talking about the Lashon Maila, al oila,
Because
it's
it says kal.
because it's it's going in zich. It's not going outwards. It's going.
It's
up.
not going down. It's not.
In other words, Maila is not a is not geography. Maila doesn't mean a place. Maila means a tnuah of aliyah.
But it's not aliyah.
It is an aliyah within himself.
The
It's like
Dim
it's
Shalom.
like it's like when the king comes out to speak. He's coming down to speak. Is that the mathemata? Yes, the mathemata. But is he becoming my friend? Is he explaining to me why he's telling me to go to do this or do that? His kudus that he's telling me to do? No. He's telling me ba'ifim shel roimimus. He's lamay lamay. By sure that he's coming down, he's in a tnuah of roimimus. He's a tnuah of aliyah.
So the tnuah of aliyah is the gabi de mata, not mitzad deir itself.
That's a tnuah of aliyah v'er sof. It's not like, what do you mean legabe sof? Of course it's legabe us. It's a tnuah of aliyah in Ein Sof, nicht mehr sein, rufke. Tnuah of aliyah, which is legabe us, an Indian of Helam. So it comes out. So in other words, like they say, in Yecholis, the Yecholis is the same. Yecholis is the same thing. When it comes out, you see more koyach ha'atzmius in the Indian of Shloi Lahoy, in the Indian of Gvul. And that's why it says in other places, it's interesting, there's a Lashon of Rabbi Yitzchak when he writes, the Atik is the Indian of Yecholis. Because Atik Pirushe Teikef. The Yecholis hu mitzad ha-teikef. Kimishu takefu ka'u yachol. It's a Lashon from Rabbi Yitzchak. In other words, and also there in the Maimon in Samavov, the Koyach HaGodel is going on the Inyan HaGvul. Ligvul is also the Koyach of the Eibishter. But where do you see Teikef or Atzmi is Dafke in the Inyan of Koyach HaGvul? Just to finish off with a short nice Ke'enze, there was one of the famous Chassidim of the Rebbe Rashab who became, I think we're talking about Choni Morozo, became a secretary to the Fidik Rebbe. Although he said he didn't want to become the secretary because the secretary of the Chayre can't be a Chassid, but as they say, the Rebbe Rashab said, "Bistach gerecht, but I need a secretary, I need a shamish, whatever." Akaponim. So I think the Fidik Rebbe said about him. It could be I'm mixing up two different people, but the Fidik Rebbe said about him, he is a Baal Soid. He is my Baal Soid. The Fidik Rebbe said there's different levels in Baal Soid. There's one person who's a Baal Soid, meaning he has a secret, but after a few pushes here and there, the secret's out. Not much of a Baal Soid. Then there's somebody who is not going to give in. He's not going to tell you the secret, but everybody knows he has a secret. Rosie Lee, I have the secrets. Then there's a real Baal Soid. It could be I'm mixing up a few more levels in between, but the highest level is a real Baal Soid is that you couldn't tell. You'd never be able to tell that he has a secret. And even when the secret comes out, he makes a face, I didn't know, this is news to me. You wouldn't know that he knew the information. Dosa emes a Baal Soid. Is it easier to be the first type that gives out the Seders, or to be a Baal Soid that holds it in and doesn't even show that he even had a secret? So versteht sich, it's a Baal Soid, it's a Baal Meile. Because it's harder to be Magbil than it is to be Megala. If the Metzias is there, it's automatically going to come out. But if it's to be able to control it, that you need a deeper koyach. So although mitzad atzmus are the same, but in Giluyim, the koyach hagvul is a deeper koyach. There's more atzmius to be able to withhold Gilui. That's the tnu of the Maila of the Maila Maila.